With prices starting at rupees 8,25,000 ex showroom, this is the Skoda Kylaq. Now this Skoda Kylaq is the most affordable Skoda car your money can buy here in the Indian market. They call it an SUV, you can call it a crossover. It is sub 4 meters in length, and rivals are going to be the Renault Kiger, Nissan Magnite, Hyundai Exter, Hyundai Venue, Tata Nexon, Kia Sonet, and so many more products in this pseudo SUV category here in India in this particular price range. Now this is the most affordable Skoda car. This is the entry level Skoda vehicle here in India. So it has a lot to prove. It is, however, one of the safest products in its class. It is a 5-star safe rated vehicle in crash tests. So people are considering this Skoda Kylaq here in the Indian market, and it is slowly gaining popularity amongst the mass market car buyers. In this video, we are going to speak about the feel from behind the wheel. How good is this Skoda Kylaq to drive? We also have two other videos. One where we speak about the exterior design of this car, of this SUV, and one where we speak about the interior cabin, the space, the features, and the overall practicality. We also have multiple short format content pieces for you. So now is a good time to subscribe to the Shifting Gears channel and press that bell icon. This is going to be a very detailed drive review video. So let's get going and let's start in step-by-step fashion. I'm driving right now on the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, and I have set the cruise control at 80 kilometers per hour. A rumbler patch. This is the amount of noise that is heard inside the cabin. Let us start talking about the NVH characteristic. A concrete patch of road, and at 80, road noise is okay, not so much. And wind noise, wind buffeting, also again, not so much. At 80 kilometers per hour at cruising speeds, the engine noise is not heard inside the cabin. I'm going to reduce the AC fan speed because that white noise was a lot. And now, it is a quiet cabin. It is a very comfortable place to be. So in terms of refinement in the NVH area, this is just as good as a car should be, especially in this price range. So because the NVH is good, you can drive this Kylaq for longer and you will not feel stressed towards the end of your journey. And if at all you downshift, and if at all you want to push the engine, this is how you will hear the engine inside the cabin. So it doesn't sound very thrashy. So if you are enthusiastic, if you are feeling the need for speed, the engine noise is not something that your passengers are going to complain about. It is not going to trouble them. It actually sounds like a sporty note when you are revving the motor all the way. Also, I hope you have noticed so far, we are driving the manual gearbox option of the Skoda Kylaq. Of course, this is the top trim, but this is the manual variant in its top trim. Speaking about NVH, quite peaceful inside the cabin right now. The seat ventilation at level 2 though, it is very noisy, and then from behind you, you will constantly have a white noise. So ideally you should use seat ventilation at level 1, not level 2, because it just adds to your stress. It is a bit annoying, but in terms of cooling efficiency, it is not bad. NVH, good. And typical of a well-engineered product. Even when you're driving over some bad roads, even the suspension noise is not heard too much inside the cabin. So overall, a pleasant experience. The next point which I want to speak about is visibility. Now this is a sub 4 meter compact SUV. I am seated at the lowest seat setting. Both the front seats, by the way, are electrically operated. None of them get any kind of memory function. Even the passenger side actually gets a height adjustment, which is very unique. So, the Skoda Kylaq, as a compact SUV, it is very easy to maneuver because you understand all four corners very easily. It is not a large car, but because of the dimensions, because of how the seat has been positioned over here, you sit a bit high. But I am seated low, so for my height of 5 feet 8 inches, this is the amount of headroom that is available, and I can't necessarily see the entire bonnet, but I do see some body color, so it gives me a good idea of how I'm driving, where the wheels are pointing, and how the vehicle is moving. The wing mirrors are large, and the inside rear view mirror is also quite useful, so visibility overall is quite nice. So if this is going to be your first vehicle ever, if this is going to be your first premium vehicle, if this is going to be your first SUV, this is not intimidating at all. This is very easy to understand. The next point that I want to speak about is the steering wheel. And for that, what I'm going to do is first pull over to the shoulder and demonstrate to you how light the steering wheel is at a standstill. So let's try it out. Let me find a safe spot to do this. So check this out, at a standstill, and very easy to move the steering wheel. Even one finger operation, one thumb operation, not at all difficult. So if you are going to share this Skoda Kylaq with your friends and family members, even elderly members, or if your kids have just, gotten their license, everybody will find it easy to drive this vehicle. Even at crawling speeds, it stays light and it stays effortless. Continuing with the steering wheel point, it is very sharp and it is very direct. Check this out. There is not too much of a dead area in the center, so the slightest of inputs and the vehicle does respond. And when you want to drive hard and fast, the steering wheel offers you good feel and feedback. Keep looking at how confidently I can drive this car now while I'm going to overtake a few slower moving vehicles. When I change lanes, the vehicle stays planted. It gives me good confidence. It gives me a good idea of where the wheels are pointed. And because of that, I can then slice through and get back to my lane with absolute ease. It does weigh up quite nicely when you get up to higher speeds, and because of that it feels like a dynamically sorted vehicle, this Skoda Kylaq. And then you can have a lot of fun, especially if you're driving around a hard road. It just feels very good in terms of the steering responsiveness. Check this out one more time. If I have to make way through slower moving traffic out on the expressway, switching lanes, using my indicators of course, and when I do this, it's such a fun vehicle, and especially when this is a manual stick shift vehicle, it is just so good. Whenever I'm doing any of this, the steering wheel doesn't judder around, no kickbacks or anything. Very well sorted, very well dynamically rich steering wheel, and just have both your hands on the wheels and you can play around with this vehicle confidently and throw it into corners and get a much tighter line than any other product in the segment. That is how stable the vehicle feels. That is how dynamically rich this Skoda Kylaq feels. So you will really like it if at all you are someone who always drives with urgency. Check this out. Again, I'm going to make a fast-paced lane change. Go back to the lane. Absolutely no problems at all. And the buzzer sound should have told you what kind of speed we were doing. Nevertheless, let's now speak about performance. I told you that the steering wheel is responsive enough, it gives you good confidence. But to exploit that confidence, does the Skoda Kylaq have enough go to meet the show? Let's find out. Firstly, check this out. If I come to a standstill, this vehicle has engine start stop functionality. The vehicle will shut down. Right now the engine has switched off. As soon as I get on the clutch, shift gears, slot it into gear, the engine has come back to life. So it is going to save some fuel and it's going to be marginal, nominal, and I like to actually keep this feature off because I love engine mounts. I think this start stop system is a bit too much and it actually ruins the cabin temperature because the AC gets messed up whenever the engine is killed. So check this out. You have a button over here to deactivate start stop system, and that is how I like to drive it. Now with this Skoda Kylaq, you do not get any drive modes, no eco, normal or sport drive mode, a manual gear stick, a nice and light clutch, and you have your throttle. It is all up to you. Drive it gently, feather the throttle, or go full gas and full pedal to the metal. So what you're going to do is check out how fast it feels. So in 3, 2, 1, listen to the engine. Some wheel spin even in second gear. Very fast to pick up pace. We are already over 120 kilometers per hour, and it does accelerate with quite some urgency. It is a fast SUV for sure. I know we haven't spoken about the engine specifications. We will now, but I will demonstrate this to you one more time. The acceleration, it just feels good. It doesn't feel underpowered at all. It is a 3-cylinder motor under the hood, but it accelerates quite strongly. So pulling over to the shoulder, slotting it in first gear, and in 3, 2, 1, let's go. Nice short throw gears, and in no time you get to 100 kilometers per hour. And if you want to make fast-paced overtakes, it is absolutely a breeze. And the Skoda Kylaq, such a fun little car. I mean, the Polo is no more, but from Skoda and Volkswagen, this is a good, fun entry-level vehicle which you will enjoy driving. And now that you know a little bit about performance, let us speak about the engine specifications. Powering this Skoda Kylaq is a 999cc, which means a 1-liter TSI 3-cylinder turbocharged petrol motor producing 85 kilowatts of power and 178 Newton meters of torque. Skoda claims that the mileage number is going to be 19.68 kilometers to a liter for the manual trim and 19.05 kilometers to a liter for the automatic trim. You get a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed torque converter automatic, no dual clutch automatic with the Skoda Kylaq. This is an SUV, they say, so it has a ground clearance of 189 millimeters. You get a 45-liter tank capacity, and the vehicle is riding on 17-inch wheels. The curb weight ranges from 1,169 kg all the way up to 1,255 kg. And considering all of this, putting everything together, it is an exciting vehicle to drive. And let us test things in, sane manner. You don't really drive all out, flat out all the time. So I am in 6th gear and I'm now going to let the speed drop. So let us understand the roll-on acceleration. So the speed is now at 60 kilometers per hour and I am at 60 in 6th gear. Getting on the gas, not rapid acceleration because you are very higher up in the rev range, but now I have done 70, 80, 90, and that's 100. So not too bad, not very slow. Let us do that one more time, but at a slightly lower speed than that, than 60. So reducing the speed, I'm now close to 50 kilometers per hour. Getting on the gas, no hesitation, no knocking, no jerks, no juddering from the 3-cylinder motor. We are now at 60, now at 70, 80, 90, and that's 100. Of course, when we were doing this, when we let the speed drop way low in this previous attempt, the gear shift indicator did prompt me to downshift to an ideal gear in the meat of the power band. But it could still manage without, feeling like it is not going to be able to continue picking up pace. So it's a very tractable motor as well. I'm going to switch to 4th or rather 3rd gear, and now I will move to the slow lane. So I'm going to let the speed drop one more time. Right now the speed is at 35 kilometers per hour, actually 30, a little under 30. Getting on the gas and 40, 50, 60, 70, and now rapidly picking up pace. So in 3rd gear, you will do almost over 130 kilometers per hour, actually 140 plus kilometers per hour. So I let the speed drop to under 30, close to 30 kilometers per hour, and then it could do over 130, 140 kilometers per hour in 3rd gear. I mean, just understand the rev range. So it is a very practical engine and gearbox combination. Don't feel like the Kylaq is underpowered just because you know that the Slavia and the Kylaq, they have the 1.5 liter engine with a DSG gearbox. This is more than sufficient for the segment and for the price point that it is available at, and it does everything just fine, just as expected. So the performance is good when you want to accelerate from a standstill. The roll-on acceleration is also quite nice, and it has nice long legs to stretch around on the highway. So if you want to hold on to a gear for a really long time, you can do that because you have that speed range available for you to maximize performance. Now, the next point that I want to speak about is mileage. I have driven this car for more than 200 kilometers. When you go to settings, you can go to car settings, or you know what, you can actually just go to home screen, and then you have this driving data information. Now, since we are driving on the expressway, we reset the trip and it is showing 14 plus kmpl of mileage. It is only increasing with the number of miles that we keep munching. Since refueling, or the long-term fuel efficiency number that I have managed, is 11.6 kmpl. I have driven it for 225 kilometers so far. This is the real world driving experience. I drove it in bumper to bumper traffic. Today I'm driving out on the highway. We did idle the engine for a while. Say for example you go for a grocery run and you are waiting for someone. So we've tried everything, the normal test cycle, and 11.6 kmpl is what we have achieved. It could have been better if we kept the engine switched off at standstill when we were shooting, but that number couldn't have been dramatically different. So 19 kmpl what Skoda is claiming, I think that is a bit far-fetched, but who knows, maybe you can do it, and if you have, please let us know in the comments below. So that's the efficiency report card for you. Next is the ride and handling package. Good body balance. Now the Skoda Kylaq, I would say it is more of a tall boy hatchback than an SUV, because it does have plenty of body cladding, but it is no off-roader. So you can drive over rough roads, over some gravel, some pebbles and everything. Your paint is not gonna get chipped off very easily. But if you get into slush, if you get into such tricky terrain, you're going to get stuck, because this is a front-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, crossover or micro SUV, if you would like to call that. So I think for the product that it is positioned as, it does handle quite well. It doesn't really handle like a hot hatch, but almost like one, because the steering wheel, nice and responsive, engine, peppy performance, and then it is backed by a suspension setting which is very good to offer you good body balance at high speed and also when you're driving over broken terrain. So it is a good mix for the Indian road conditions. You will actually enjoy driving it fast as well. So check this out. When I'm driving at triple digit speeds, I'm now over 100 kilometers per hour. If I make a fast paced lane change, I do feel some amount of roll, but it is still well within controllable limits. You will feel some body roll if you are over 100, but then it is not at all something that you cannot manage, and it just stays nice and flat at high speeds as well. It doesn't move around too much. It is not a bouncy suspension tune. Say for example, it is not completely at the comfort side of the scale. So it does have the right mix of offering you dynamic ride quality and comfortable ride quality for family members. We did encounter a patch where the center lane of the highway was completely broken. We saw big bulky SUVs driving on a flat concrete patch, but we took that beaten path. And when we did that, the suspension setting, the suspension tune of the Skoda Kylaq, it did impress me quite a lot. It did not feel thrashy at all. It did not keep, making a lot of sound inside the cabin that it is working really hard in the suspension department. It very gracefully moved over and it kept me comfortable. It did not beg me to slow down. That is how good the suspension tune is, and the body balance is really, really nice. If the vehicle was a little less taller, the body roll would have been lesser and it would have been even more dynamically rich. But for sales and for practicality, this is the body style that you get, and I'm not complaining, because the Volkswagen Polo was a cramped vehicle. The Skoda Kylaq, it at least gives you a good sense of space from the driver's point of view. It is cramped in the back seat. For that, check out our interior review video. But when you're driving it, it feels just as tight and it feels just as rewarding. We are now going uphill on the Mumbai-Pune Expressway, and it is just such a good car. I have spent so much time with a manual vehicle after a really long time, and I have had absolutely no problems driving it, even inside city limits. So, sorted, ride and handling package. The next point is this gearbox. Check this out. Nice and smooth, very well defined gear gates. The clutch is medium throw, it is not completely short, but it is light, it doesn't require too much effort. And playing around with this engine and gearbox combination, it's quite rewarding and it is not requiring too much effort. So that again is something that will add to your overall driving pleasure. Is the Skoda Kylaq the most fun vehicle in its class? Well, I can't tell because I also like the Hyundai i20 N line. Now, it's not an apples to apples comparison because that's a hatchback. This is a so-called SUV, but it's at a similar price point, I guess, and I prefer that because it also sounds quite dramatic, and also because the Hyundai i20 has better quality materials on the inside. There are some, touch areas over here inside in the Skoda Kylaq which could have definitely been better, and this touchscreen infotainment, it just feels very aftermarket. It takes away from the premium feel and appeal of the vehicle. Nevertheless, getting back to the gearbox point, check this out. Downshifting a couple of gears, using indicators while changing lanes, wet roads, and what a fun car this Skoda Kylaq, and I really like it. It's very easy to handle. It doesn't overdo things. The power delivery is very easy to understand. It is very predictable. There is no sudden surge, and because of this gearbox, because of how well you can just shift from time to time without having to put in a lot of effort, you can just enjoy driving this car. A lot of standing water, but not too much of aquaplaning either, and it's nice. Now, since this is a manual, let's also speak about the pedal placement. So you have a dead pedal to rest your left foot. Otherwise also there is good space between the pedals, so it is not cramped, and ergonomically no problems. This armrest is very useful, especially because you have the manual gearbox option. It also does slide forward and backward, so it gives you good support. What else do you expect from a vehicle? It does the most important thing very well, which is it drives well. In today's day and age, every brand is focusing on first safety, big numbers. Of course, that is important. Then they will start harping about the design, the wheels, then the technology in terms of the screens that you get, the features that are offered, and then they fall flat when it comes to driving experience. That is where the Skoda Kylaq is really shining, and they can improve this product further in terms of appeal, but the basics, they have definitely gotten it right, and the fast tag just dropped. Nevertheless, mighty impressed. The next point to talk about are the tires and brakes. So not a long point to speak about. They have done a fine job, good grips. You saw that I drove through standing water, no aquaplaning. So grip levels are good right now when it has started to rain quite a bit around Lonavala. The brakes, they offer you good stopping power. They are not over servoed, so it is not extremely sharp in terms of bite, but to put the anchors down, it is safe and it is predictable. And also there is not too much of a dive when you get on the brakes at times of an emergency. So it's all right. I mean, it is what it should be. There are no rear wheel disc brakes. You get drum brakes at the back, only disc brakes at the front. And of course you have the electronic safety suite that you get on most of these modern cars. So you get traction control and all of that, and you have multiple airbags as well for safety. And just a lot more, along with a very strong body shell, because of which this is a 5-star rated vehicle in a crash test. So that's pretty much it. That is all that I want to share with you about this Skoda Kylaq from behind the wheel. It is a good car to drive, and that is the most important point to note. What is your opinion? You let us know in the comments below. Would you buy the Skoda Kylaq, or would you buy anything else from the competition showroom? If you have any other questions, ask me and I will try my best to help you out. See you soon. Always drive safe and always wear your seatbelts.